it's something that I've talked about on the podcast before, and I'm going to say it again here. Probably not the right way, probably politically not correct. Those
That's
that
how
do
we
not,
do it.
those that do not travel are the uneducated ones, in my opinion. Okay, so if you get out of your box and you go see how other people do it, other cultures do it, other countries do it, other areas of the country, whatever it may be, you are the educated one. And now I'm not talking about how many years you went to school or whether you went to college or not. That's irrelevant. Those that travel are the smart ones, are the educated ones. The ones that people that do not travel are the dopes.
Mike,
Sorry to say it that way.
I bring that up to you all the time. That's one of my main talking points. All I'm gonna say is I agree with you.
I firmly believe if more Americans traveled, and by the way, when you look at the world as a whole and the many countries that make up the world, Americans are some of the least traveled people on the planet. They don't. Americans generally do not like to go outside of their comfort zone, so they're willing to go on vacation to, Disney
Vegas.
World or
Yeah.
Vegas, or they'll go to the Bahamas, or they'll go. Look at where I am in Mexico. They're going to come down to Cancun or Tulum or Cabo or somewhere, and they're going to go to their resort and they're going to have a pool and an ocean, and they're going to have margaritas, and they're going to have nice cocktails, and they're going to go home, and they're going to be like, I had a great time, man. I love Mexico. Well, buddy, you didn't see a fucking thing about Mexico. You never been there. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I mean, and that is an American mindset. And I got to tell you, when I started traveling in my early days, and I spent all the time going across Africa and different places, I almost never saw an American anywhere. You're not going to see an American in a developing area of the world. You're just not, unless they're in the Peace Corps or the UN or something like that. They're not there, and that's a problem. And then you start to wonder, why do we have diversity problems in America? Why do we have such polarization? Why do we have people hating everybody? Because you don't get out enough, dude. I mean, that's why.
Not only do we not travel, even of the just take an absolute of those who do travel, it's still a small portion of those that actually immerse themselves in that particular culture. Just like you mentioned, you go to the resort or you go to the 2 or 3 blocks in the city that's Americanized. You go to the American. You know go on YouTube right now, how many people go to Japan and the first place they go to is the Japanese McDonald's.
Right. Exactly.
I'm going because I want to see the difference.
Right.
But that's the last thing on my list. I want something completely Japanese.
Yep. I know, and then Americans have the wrong sense of the world. I'll give you an example. What you've been talking about food, and you and I love to talk about food. But think about if you go to. Let me use the two most obvious ones. Well, actually, here's 3 most obvious ones: Italian, Chinese, or Mexican. Let me tell you, having been to all those are not in America. Those foods are not what those people eat in their home country. It's not the same.
Yeah, because people look at me crazy, when you talk about food, and I always say my favorite food is seafood, and they'll be like, well, how do you like your seafood? And I usually say I like the way the Asians make it first, and then I like the way that they do it in Mexico second. And then they go, Mexico?
Yeah, right.
And I'm like, they
What?
got a laundry list of
Hell yeah.
seafood dishes.
Yep. But the problem is that Americans have been brought to learn, Italian food is Carrabba's, Mexican food is Taco Bell,
Right.
and Chinese food is, Hung Wang Tu on the corner of, whatever, and sweet and sour chicken is what they eat. No, that's no. I mean, most of like Chinese food in America, most of it's Polynesian, really. It's not even. It's got nothing to do with China.
Some of it ain't even Asian. It
No.
was something that got whipped up in an Asian restaurant in America. to
Exactly.
satisfy an American.